Welcome to the Philosopher's Gaming News. Today we have a fairly interesting topic to discuss. EA raises prices for Indian PC gamers. These are really bad news for gamers in India, and in my opinion this needs to be discussed. In India, gamers are protesting via Twitter, hashtag EAPCIndia, against EA's price increases of PC games. We are not talking about a small increase. EA raised the prices by 130 to 250% to the same level as games in the United States or Europe. That is from between $17 and $25 up to $59. That is huge, especially in a country like India. The reason is that EA wants to stop people from buying cheap Indian games outside of India and then bypassing the region lock. Some of you may think that it is only fair if the Indian people pay as much as we do here in the Western countries, but in my opinion it is not. Let's check out some economic data. Don't worry, I won't go too much into detail, just a few numbers so we can understand the problem a little bit better. The nominal GDP, the gross domestic product of India, is at 1.8 trillion US dollars. This sounds pretty much, but if you think about that in India are living 1.2 billion people and you calculate it down to just one person, it isn't that much. It is just 1,491 US dollars per person, and this is per year. If you compare this number to the United States, there it is $49,601 per person per year. So you see, between these two countries there's a huge difference. If you calculate it down to a month, it becomes even more clear. It is just $124.25. If you keep this in mind and the game is about $60, it is half of it. And this is the reason why games in India are a lot cheaper than in the rest of the world. Of course, the GDP is not the ultimate number and you can draw complex economic conclusions out of it just by itself. It is an orientation and gives us a little overview of India's economy. And the only conclusion I want to draw here is that India is still a poor country. Almost 30% of India lives below the poverty line. Still, we have to keep in mind that games are luxury items, so people buying them will probably from the so-called middle class. I did some research on this and it is quite hard to say where does middle class start, where does it end. Some experts say that it starts at $8 a day, others say at $10. The difference between $8 and $10 are still 20 million people. But for this discussion, it is not important to define where middle class starts. It is important that if you have $300 a month, then $60 of it are 20%. And if you have $20 a month, $60 are still 10%. Even with $30 a month, it is 6.6%. So you see, it is a huge amount of your income. And this is a problem for a lot of gamers there. We have to keep in mind that even here in the Western countries, $60 is quite expensive. Of course, India is not the biggest game market in the world, but it is a growing market. What happens if other companies are jumping on the bandwagon and also increase their prices? That would totally kill the market there in India. You have to imagine you buy your game digital and they charge you $210 for it. Some people can pay their apartment rent with it. And that is the case in India. It is an absurd amount of money. And the reason is that they are not able to prevent people outside of India to buying games for cheap in India. I can't imagine that there is no other solution to the problem than this one. Just check where the credit card is from. That could help. The solution the Indians will probably find is piracy. It looks like EA is leaving the market there. Like I said, India is not the biggest gaming market and the games you sell there you have to consider as a bonus, but they can make some money there. The reason for this is that games and software have really unique production circumstances. For example, the main production costs are the development costs. After the developers are finished and can work on the next title, the costs are dropping to a minimum. They only have material costs for physical copies, some server and traffic costs, and of course some staff needed for support and service. That sounds much, but if you calculate it down to a copy and the game, that is the condition, is successful and sells some copies, then it is not very much. And after they have covered their development costs, because this is a fixed cost, then they are just generating a nice amount of money with each sold copy. Even if they sell the game for $17 in India, when the development costs are covered, they make profit out of it even there, because the ongoing costs are not that high. The main problem is that the marketing costs are so high. Besides the expensive development, they also spend even more on marketing. If you imagine that some companies for AAA titles are just spending $200 million just on marketing, you see that they have to sell a lot of copies to just get the money back. But it is not like a charity project for India. They're still making profit there. But nobody will buy a game for $60 there. This is usury. And in my opinion, not a smart decision. I hope it won't work out for them and that they will change their mind and learn a lesson here. The next one is a really short one. It seems like that Nvidia has released some damaged display drivers. The 320.18 drivers are damaging GPUs. So don't worry, be careful. I will link down in the description a thread where you can read more about this topic and update your drivers to 320.49. That should help. The last topic I want to talk about is about Nintendo's Wii U. And Ubisoft announced that Zombie U wasn't even close to being profitable. And this is also the reason why Rayman Legends is a multi-platform game now instead of a Wii U exclusive. This is a really bad thing for Nintendo again. If even a big game like Zombie U, which was promoted very well and looked very interesting, couldn't sell well on the Wii U, then what game can do well on the Wii U right now? And this is a problem, especially if it comes to third-party games. In addition, Miyamoto explained that they underestimated the cost of HD development. This will lead into a delay of Nintendo's first-party games, which are so much needed to boost the sales of the Wii U. That means that the Wii U is probably out of the competition for this holiday season. That would be the second holiday season where Nintendo was not able to get an advantage over their competitors. Releasing the Wii U before PlayStation 4 and Xbox One would have brought them almost nothing if this would happen. So I hope they can solve their problems and still have a surprise left for this year. Else this will be a really tough one even for Nintendo. That is everything for today. If you liked my video, please press the like button. If you have any comment, write it down in the comment section. I also start using my Twitter account a little bit more, so if you want some news and some announcement, please check out my Twitter. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.